Thank you. And thank you, Samantha. I don't see you now. For writing that. What a cool place to be. I've got goat on me. I hope before you go, you have goat on you too. They're little goats.
Yeah, they're little.
Like at least two people here, Khalid Matawa and Clayton Eshelman. I'm interested in translation and have spent a lot of the last 5-6 years translating. And I think I'll start with a translation from a book called Fungus, Skull, Eye, Wing, the selected poems of Alfonso de Quino. De Quino is a Mexican poet who lives in the desert outside Cuernavaca and in kind of isolation. Octavio Paz selected his work really early on for the big Carlos Pellicer Prize, but he never sort of joined the circles of social poets in Mexico City and has been a kind of isolated character. And a little like Jack Spicer runs a workshop called Workshop of Poetry and Silence that has become like Spicer's Magic Workshop, a kind of famous situation for younger writers in Mexico. So here's a poem of his. He also knows the names of all the stars and the medicinal plants and the rocks in his area, and he's kind of an eco-poet before there was a word like eco-poetry. This is a poem that's written in two columns, and so it was very fun to translate because in Spanish you can read it either way. You can read it vertically, the vertical columns, or you can read it horizontally. So I think I'm going to read to you the vertical Spanish, and then I'll read horizontally the English. I'll just read one stanza down, one column in Spanish. Fronda. I don't know whether it's better or worse with glasses. Fronda. No tiene ninguna forma. La hoja en medio de las hojas. Las hojas no son el aire, sino el aire que lo copa. Y una copa cabe en otra, dentro de una sola hoja. Movimiento de la fronda que desvela otra rosa. Y una en otra se transforma, como un cielo entre dos hojas. Invisible rama loca se retuerce por sí sola, si una hoja y otra hoja siempre son la misma hoja. And here I'll read across. Frond. It's formless. From within the leaves I see the leaf in the middle, one brushing another, of the leaves that keeps it company. Leaves aren't the alder, all the tree a leaf, but the air that holds all the alder in its sleeve, and more leaves. And trees drink each other in, and a frond emerges from one of them, tangled in the branches, a singular leaf among the leaves. Gesticulation of the frond. From within its patterns I see, disclosing in the shadowed bower, another flower, the other flower. And each moves into the other, and the phylum transfluoresces, like a sky invisibly woven, and between two leaves opening out. Wild, invisible branch, the stalk and the corolla, twisting, spirals darkening into one form and digging in, if one leaf and another leaf from the unseen branch always are to the shade of the leaf, the same leaf, falling broken. That's Alfonso de Quino. And as Samantha's introduction notes, I'm also very interested in collaboration. I think everything I read from here on will be part of one collaboration or another. This is a collaboration that I did with a photographer named Raymond Meeks, who was photographing very, very primitive mining operations in Myanmar or Burma with children and women and just the crudest implements. It's called A Clearing. Where are you going, ghosted with dust? From where have you come? Dull assertiveness of the rock heap, a barren monarchy, wolf spider, size of a hand, encrusted with dirt at the rubble's edge. What crosses here goes fanged or spiked and draws its color from the ground. Xanthic shadow at the edges. Where are we going? Ghosted with dust. From where have we come? Stretcher loaded with clods by a spavined work shed. What does it mean, a cauterized topography? One step forward and he is with us. One step back, another realm absorbs him. The sense of epic loosened, unstrung, each one thinking it is the other who recedes like a horizon, the miraculous cage visible under his skin. I cannot be discarded, his eyes say, a flute that plays one note, a face. In the open pit at noon, men waning in brightness. I can be read, say the rocks, but not by you. The air burnished, almost mineral, like a thin peel of mica. Mound in the photograph, iris in the eye. What does it mean, a cauterized topography? To salvage rocks the color of all else, from all else the color of rock. I can be read, say her eyes, but not by you. As if the land had abandoned itself. Rain flushed from denuded hills, soil powders in wind. One step forward and we are with them. One step back and another realm absorbs us. Don't pick up the rocks, he says, because rocks belong to the dead. Xanthic shadow at the edges, the distance flat as horsehair plaster, all depth sponged away. Black knoll of tailings, there is nothing between his eyes and ours, not even invitation. Each stone carrying its death sentence into the animate world. Fly maggot eating the red ant's brain. The sense of epic loosened, unstrung, light broken off in the air. The twig's shadow has the same quality as the shadow of a man. Glance held, an afterglow, all depth sponged away, the distance, iris in an eye, mound in the photograph. Don't pick him up, rocks say, because the dead belong to the rocks. Encrusted with dirt at the rubble's edge, wolf spider the size of a hand. A man's shadow has the same quality as the shadow of a twig. What crosses here goes fanged or spiked and draws its color from the ground, the air burnished, almost mineral. And this is a collaboration with another photographer named Sally Mann, who's from Virginia, which is where I grew up also. And this is a landscape that is very dear to me and also to Samantha, because it's the Blue Ridge. She grew up farther south in the Blue Ridge. So it's called Road and Tree. And the photograph is of a road and a tree. Dark photograph and twilight. Lucent road, first letter. Evening spooked with light. Quarter moon road with the darkness inside it. And full moon sky with the tree inside it. Curved road in the gloaming. Oak trunk, a vector of force punched upward, held in place by the stenciled circle of light, lit road bearing a trunk of its own darkness, circle of light split like a cat's eye, road curling left, eye cutting right, barely there in the soft dirt, footprints and dog prints commingling in the throat of the road, where voices also have fallen with pollen. This is an inner landscape, for even as light came back like bees to the camera, proclaiming the photograph, the place altered, never availed itself at all. A hem of cirrus brushed the sun. The Carolina wren's cheery gave way to a full moon in the afternoon, and little grass frogs, dry puffballs, detonated into a cloud of gold spores as a hoof lifted. And even if it had pictured a real terrain for one moment, of what place is it a memory now? The image strands itself, a word knocked loose from the language, a tooth under a pillow, and the place itself was neither fully read nor erased, since it never ceased being written. Only a word was pronounced, only the instrument clicked. And I did a series of a collaboration with a couple of dancers, of kind of post-Buto dancers, a pair. It's the only pair that's gotten the MacArthur together, which is sort of an honor and sort of a rip-off. Named Echo and Koma. I wonder if anybody here has seen them. You have? Yeah? Oh, good, yeah. Anybody else back there? So it's Buto, which is a post-World War II Japanese dance form, very influenced by French avant-garde dance, and there's a lot of different styles of it. Echo and Koma have performed for most of their career in the nude until about when their kids were like teenagers, and kids started saying, "Come on, Mom and Dad, you know, my friends go to these things." And then they started making very cool costumes. But they also, their performance, what's most dramatic about it is, one, the positions that their bodies assume make the human body, which you've lived in every bit of your conscious life, suddenly alien to you. You don't recognize the human form anymore. And also, they move so slowly, so incredibly slowly, that your sense of time alters. And during one of the pieces that I'll read I'm going to read 3 pieces that are part of a collaboration. The third piece is connected to a piece of theirs that I saw. They performed for 8 hours a day at the museum, the Walker Art Center in Minneapolis, and I was able to be there for most of that week. And of course, and so Echo is on one side and Koma on the other side of a heap of burned raven's feathers and earth and this sort of mound of detritus, and both naked and sort of rice powder, so their bodies are also very very white, and it looks like either an apocalyptic scene or the beginning of the world after an apocalyptic scene. And very, very slowly for 8 hours, they're moving. They slowly turn towards each other. They almost touch. They fall away again, and it's riveting. And your sense of time changes. And I was watching, and there was one other person that most people come in and watch for about 15 minutes or so, and then leave again. And one person kept coming and staying for a long time, the whole 6 days that I was there. And I learned later that she she was coming after being in the hospital all day because her son had been in a fire in college and had, was in a coma, and had been in a coma for a long time. So she was spending time sitting next to him and then coming to this performance, which seemed to work as a metaphor for her, sort of trying to reach her son across this unbridgeable space. And the importance of their art is that its metaphors are so open that they can be interpreted in so many ways. So that's Erkwan Koma. They have a terrific website too, and I hope if you ever get a chance to see them, you will. But these poems are the most recent that I'm reading, and I also so I'm less sure about how they work without the dance. Raven. Until they share a common edge, they scrape around in confines of blindness, skin on skin as mind, looking overhead at her own hand, exposed ardency, foot fully pointed. The carotid takes a slightly curved course north of his breastbone. Then it finishes his white flower breath. As though the head loosened from its stem, falling back unsupported, he accepts the straw and hide, and from behind her shove, as a gift, sacrum to sacrum, and his fingers to her face. Her hair swallows his wrist of some mutilated offering. These are the black fat, the canoe bone in her shin, and ashes from his body rising. This is called Projecting Love. Dragging her fingernails across the air as she comes, stage left, he steps from darkness into his flesh, under the minatory glare of the X of hunger, the flexed tendons of his fingers, her eyes and lips exposed when he stumbles. She is aware without looking. Almost they embrace, the vessels and nerves of their cheeks under the thin stratum of fascia, when her mouth breaks black open, when stage right he exits, cupping the wound, when she cries out in Japanese, "I see the world upside down." And then the last one is called Buried, and it's actually buried. There's a buried form, an old form in this poem as well. Unpacks the recognizable, its chaos here, and the composition stutters, face stalking itself from inside, beyond all levels of passion, compressed into looking unplotted, brutal, adust. His back muscles, her rib cage splays, they are naked, and filled with the enormity of naked stillness. Head held up, her hair pierced, quills fixed to her back, and her right thigh rising to her face. The air muffled through which his looking flies from somnolent eyes beyond walls that mark another beyond, of rooms echoey with shoe scuffs, naked squeaks. Fully stretched, he looks at the ceiling, raises his neck, his hair pouring to the floor as his face lifts, chin up, tilting backwards toward the audience seated back from the stage on benches in a beyond of dim out, from which they face the mound of ordure, their naked bodies on either side, blue-black hair, soft as a negative of two match flames. Look at the splice of likeness. Then look again. It is severed. They turn their backs as water drips from the ceiling, popping here and here across the canvas and beyond, in dim penetralia, naked sound of water drops in the quiet, her face fissures, her mouth a rictus, her face in its final expression, an unsustainable look into another dimension. Of what? His naked hand a piece of music rising into the black as we, in curved light beyond ourselves, reach for his fingers, reaching for her hair. Two larval bodies, naked with faces, and seared straw in their hair, hold our looking to the dark back of and beyond. That's good. Thank you very much.